Each morning I look forward to the intimate time I spend reading a series of worn-out love letters that have transformed my life forever. Through the years, I have also heard how these same letters have traveled far and wide to transform the lives of many people. And today, you will hear one of their stories. So don't go anywhere. I'm off to another house to share some good news with you. This is the true story of Richard Kronner. Today, Richard will tell us how God used a simple childlike prayer to deliver him from alcoholism. I'm so happy to share his good news with you.
I remember every Sunday my mom would take me to Sunday school. I guess I was having a struggle with, was all this they're telling me true, the Bible stories and all, they were so nice. I mean, I learned all the Bible stories, I mean, I knew who Jesus was, I knew who God was, but in reality, it was kind of like, I would say almost fiction,
Right.
And when I would ask questions, I guess I would relate more with like Darwin's theory. Well, the scientists say that this, so this can't be true. I was, weighing this situation there, and they wouldn't give me the right answers, and I got and eventually I was old enough that I just told my mom, look, I don't want to go. I don't want to go anymore. In growing up, high school, I guess I'm going to say like all of them do, but no, I discovered alcohol. I just didn't feel like I quite fit in. I was different somehow or another. And when I drank, it took the edge off of things, and I became just one of the
Life of the party.
the life of the party. There you go.
Right.
I was browsing through Time Life and flipped the page over, and there was these two guys at a red light with their backs facing the camera, and it was the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. And it's like all of a sudden I said, I'm right. These guys are right. These guys got the right idea. They don't take any stuff off of anybody. They do what they want to do. They're free. There was like I said, there's about 6 of us, and when we started riding, there were others that just seemed to be attracted, and before you know it, there was about 26 people altogether.
What kind of military service?
United States Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been born and raised around the water all the time, so the
Navy was
seemed
appealing,
just
right?
the right place to go. Yeah.
Right.
And plus, at that time, the war in Vietnam was really going on. Nobody wanted to go there, but I did have an urge or felt the necessity to serve my country. I spent most of my time on the ship, but when I got home on weekends, I mean, it was gangbusters. They told me in AA that alcoholism is a progressive disease. When I had reached my bottom with my drinking, I mean, the bike, the club, everything had gone completely down. I mean, I was one of the alcoholics that they said to have all the nevers. I never lost my job, I never lost my house, never lost my wife. And eventually, all that did go. My ex had suggested a counselor, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was a Christian counselor, and he was very, very precise about Jesus. He asked me right off the bat when I went there. I went to him to find out if I had a drinking problem or not. I just thought I was a heavy drinker.
Right.
And he had asked me, he says, Richard, he says, do you know Jesus? And I said, well, my mom was a Sunday school teacher. And I said, yeah, I know who Jesus is. He said, well, is he a close and personal friend of yours? And I said, Tom, I said, right now, I said, I don't want to talk about any religion. And little did I know that it wasn't religion, but he said, okay. He said, well, we're just going to talk about the alcohol. And we did. We sat there for maybe 3 hours at his house and talked about that. And he suggested I go to AA. That's what got me going to AA. And Mark, I went to AA for 2 weeks, and I stayed sober for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, there was a craving for that alcohol that I knew I couldn't fight it anymore. And by this time, what I had learned, about alcoholism and about drinking, I knew that if I went back at drinking again, I was going to end up in one of three places: either prison, insane asylum, or in a graveyard. That's the only
You're
three
that
choices I
desperate.
had. Yeah, and yet I knew this craving I had, it was going to win. I was going to be out there drinking against my will, and that's something that had never happened to me before.
That was a frightening thing to you, wasn't it?
It was scary. So I went back to this guy. I ran into him at an AA meeting, and he asked me how I was doing. I said, well, I'm sober for 2 weeks. I said, Tom, this craving that I've got, I asked him, I says, is there a pill or a needle or shot, something I could take to stop this horrible craving? He says, no. He says, would you like to talk about Jesus now? And I said, yeah, Tom, I'll try anything. Tell me about this Jesus. And he says, Jesus is real. And he says, and he loves you. He says, he cares about what happens to you. And he says, he doesn't want to see you where you are now. He says, you go to him and you ask him to take this thing away from you. And I said, Tom, last time I remember praying, I think my mom was standing behind me, and I was kneeling at the foot of the bed. And he says, just talk to Jesus like he's your friend. You need help. You got a problem you can't handle by yourself, and ask him. So I said I was willing to try anything, and I went home and I prayed to Jesus, probably as of believing in him for the first time in my life.